Okay, my name is Ramirez, and this is FrogBear. What I wanted to talk about was America's biggest problem. It's disconnect. Now, when I say America, I do not mean the American people. I mean the corporation, the people who have largely affected and influenced the decision making of this country. That's who I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the Rust Belt. I'm not talking about its citizens. It's white trash. It's middle class white America. It's anything. I'm not talking about one specific group. Realistically, what I'm talking about is the history of America in the sense of what decisions were made at these upper echelons of corporate America. And so this idea for this video occurred to me when I was rewatching What Does It Matter? And what does it matter in my video? And one thing I didn't really talk about at all was what do I call? It's a very difficult idea to explain. Essentially, hip hop, rap music, the culture took a turn at some point. Some people want to say the 90s. Some people want to say gangster rap. Some people want to say when blues turned into rock and roll music, or essentially describing that there were these decisions in culture that drove certain paths. But America wants to reject its subcultures, right? America, the system, the thing that wants to take people in, brainwash them, and churn them out, right? That system that exists it develops different kind of people. If you live in an inner city, you'll know what I'm talking about. Each district that you live in has certain schools that you can only go to because you live in that certain district. So by design you already have a limiting factor of what's available to certain kids based on what region they live in a metropolitan area. So you can assume that certain schools in certain areas would leave you better equipped into integrating yourself into this system. And America, just for whatever reason, wants to reject everybody that doesn't fall in line, right? If you didn't get this job, or if you didn't go to university and do this with your life, or if you didn't chase these aspects of your life, you were considered, what do you want to say, like a failure in the eyes of the system. And every citizen, every other person wants to just carry on with their life and not let that idea sink in further, with the idea of being accommodating to other people's experiences. And the larger picture of why I bring this up is because just the same way that I know what my dad was a part of, just in the same sense that I know how the distribution of certain things work, for whatever reason, white people, or the people who are in control of the system, the politics, the seats of mayor or the senator or the House of Representatives, this upper echelon of like civilization wants to reject the notion that these circumstances were in direct correlation with decision making of government, right? So they're just like, well, we didn't cause the crack epidemic. We didn't cause a whole wave of people to change their life decisions because they saw more money in illegal activity than they saw in anything else. But that's exactly what happened. We had aspects of our government create all of these enterprises, quote unquote, created all of these trade routes that then influenced my father and his brothers to completely abandon their normal jobs and start trafficking. And that's just one example of my family that made these decisions back in like the 80s, right? What about everyone else that isn't Mexican? What about African Americans? What about the Asian communities? Like, it's almost like people want to forget that the Watts riots were a thing. People want to forget that complete waves of metropolitan cities were completely changed due to certain decisions that were made by people in agencies. Let's talk about CIA, Iran-Contra, George Bush W. Sr. Like, these things had rippling effects in our society. And I'll bring up the Waka Flocka video a bit later. The reason why I bring this up is because I don't know if I've showed this video ever before, but again, I don't know if I should explain who this is. This is Prodigy, Mobb Deep. He's essentially been a rapper since, like the beginning of all this, right? He was around when Tupac was around. He was there when the battle rap scene was there when in New York. So, but something that he says that's very interesting to me is he doesn't want to be viewed like Mos Def. He doesn't want to be viewed like KRS-One. And there's a reason for it. If I could.
You know what I mean? Any of these conscious rappers, Common, Talib Kweli, anybody that you would consider a conscious rapper or whatever. And conscious means that you're conscious of what's going on in this world. You're fixed. The first time you ever heard me say Illuminati on my mind, soul, and my body, you knew P was on some other shit. You know what I'm saying? I've been on some other shit. But I ain't want to go too far with it because I ain't want to turn off my fan base, man. My fan base is the hood. I got the front line. I got the projects across America.
And he knows that. He doesn't want, right? Because if you quantify who are the people that like Mos Def, who like Talib Kweli, who like Common, you would find out that they are not the hood. They're not people who come from the struggle, who come from the streets. And he knows that because he doesn't want to concern himself with the middle classes. He doesn't want to concern himself with the people that are somewhat educated. Because he lives in the hood. The way he says it, it's like, hold on, I think he says it.
And across the globe. There's hoods in London, there's hoods in Germany, there's hoods everywhere that respect and love what I do and what Mobb Deep do, you know what I'm saying? So I ain't want to turn off those fans, man, you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of those fans are unconscious. They sleep still, they don't know what's going on. A lot of them are conscious. So I had to mix the medicine with the food. That's what me and Have always say, you gotta mix the medicine with the food. So they eating the food and they don't even know they getting some medicine in there. And that's what I've been doing.
And it's like moments like this where I'm like, yes, this is what it is. Because it's understanding that there's nobody or no one that has a vested interest in educating anybody about all this stuff. Like, nobody wants to get to the root cause of the problem. Nobody wants to get deeper into the discussion to figure out what went wrong, what happened. Like, how do we move forward from here? How do we recover from this? How do we heal from all this nonsense that's been occurring on in America's borders? Because it feels like within America's borders, there's an entirely different world. There's an entirely different world, an entirely different subculture, an entirely different sense of what it is to live that the rest of the world doesn't have. And yet everyone on the top is like, well, we didn't make people into gangsters. We didn't put people in these circumstances that we forced them to live this lifestyle, when it's like there were clear decisions in a variety of different instances where the upper echelon class of America completely molded and shaped the future of the African American community. Completely. The fact that the fact that people don't know Black Wall Street, the fact that people don't know about that genocide, but yet, oh yeah, we gotta learn about the Jewish genocide. We gotta learn about a genocide that had nothing to do with us and was across the fucking ocean. But we won't talk about the Tuskegee experiments. We won't talk about the turpentine bomb. We won't talk about the clear, like literally the clear documentable evidence of eugenics in the early 1900s. and how that largely shaped all of America to what it is now, are just levels of disbelief. Obviously, not many people are going to know everything or all of this, but the deliberateness is what I'm talking about. The fact that there are no people who are trying to mix the medicine with the food. Instead, the food is even fake. The food's all GMO. Like, the food nowadays doesn't even have half or even 25% of the nutrients that it has. Like, it just baffles my mind that yet the white people who want to defend this system, defend the Department of Defense, defend corporate America, defend whatever standards we have now, without wanting to quantify. I don't know. I'm getting a bit lost, but hold on. He says something else more interesting.
Like the I Shot Your song with LL, Keith Murray, and Foxy Brown, Fat Joe, and everybody that I did. That's when I said. That's the first time I said Illuminati with my mind, soul, and my body. You know what I'm saying? That was mixing medicine with the food. Because if you listen to the rest of that rap, I ain't speak any further on it. You know what I'm saying? All I said was Illuminati with my mind, soul, and my body. And basically, I just kept it moving. I just threw that in there. I mixed the medicine with the food. So now that I took this case and I took this plea bargain and all, I got to do these 3.5 years, it's just making me so focused on what I need to be doing with my music and my life and my career. I'm at the point in one moment in time where
to mention, this is when he just got released from being held up. Like, basically, from what I understand, he was arrested and they were trying to get him to snitch on 50 Cent in order to get 50 Cent on. I can't even remember. I don't even know the charges that they were trying to get him on. But look at his motivation. Like, him being put in that circumstance is like, all right, I know what the fuck is going on. Like, for whatever reason, the system has had something against 50 Cent for a very long time. A very long time. And, you know, something that I had to bring up to my my buddy's little brother was there were two people in recent history who were very much influenced and helped by 50 Cent. Can you name them for me? They're both dead. My buddy's like, who the fuck? Like, you know what I mean? Because he's thinking about it, and in his head and in his eyes, 50 Cent has been irrelevant for quite some time. But then I just told him the names of the two people that died, and he was just like, whoa, no way, for real? I was like, yeah. Nipsey Hussle and Pop Smoke were both, and I'm not going to say they were largely influenced or they were under G Unit or, nah. It's just that you had an instance where 50 Cent gave them advice constantly, helped them, showed them the ropes, showed them how to figure out the underground scene of selling mixtapes and that entire thing. Because there are very few people that understand how to finesse the, what do you want to call it? The music industry, right? One of them was Frank Ocean. But to see in a quantifiable way where it's like, 50 Cent's not very liked in the industry. But for two people that he helped and create into superstars, like, I don't know. I find it very interesting that both of these people are now gone. And both of these people had very different views of the world, right? With Nipsey Hussle, like, he was already on cryptocurrency before it was a thing. Like, Nipsey Hussle was already thinking of a way to undermine the music industry years before even crypto became a thing. And that astonished me, where I was just like, whoa. Either way, we can keep moving on.
I put out some bullshit. I always got something deep to say. Every time around. On the Blood Money album, America's Nightmare, Free Agents, take it back as far as you want to go, take it ahead as far as you want to go. I don't give a fuck, you know what I mean? So, where I'm going with my career right now, I'm just expressing myself even more.
Hold on.
I know for a lot of my fans, man. My fans on the street. My fans that I need to be in it. On the direction that I need to be going with my music. And basically, what I'm doing is, a I need to just put more of the information that I know into my music, because I've been holding back a lot. And the reason I've been holding back a lot is just simply because I don't want to turn off a lot of my fans, man. My fans on the street, my fans in the hood. And I gotta have the right approach with the shit that I'm trying to say. You know what I'm saying?
You know, there's something that I quantify with him saying that my fans are in the hood, is the fact that he later in the same video he talks about snitch culture, and he talks about how the movie industry at this point in time, which I think is like 2000, I don't even know when this video was recorded, definitely in the early 2000s, not in 2010 or anything like that, because I think right after this is when he released the HNIC 2, and that's the album that has Skull and Bones. But either way, but here's something that I really like. Not many artists who make it or get rich or make this level of fame and want to still associate with their hood. Like, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with moving out of the hood, but for him, he was constantly there. Like, he didn't care about catering to any of the middle classes. For him, it was just like, no, like, I'm going to stick with what created me, with what molded me. And I just find that incredibly interesting, because America doesn't do that. You ask anybody else in America, they will not acknowledge what goes on in the hood. They will not acknowledge the atrocities that are going on because of gang culture. You know what I mean? Like, it's like looking at Chicago and seeing the mayor of Chicago be like, we need to take guns away and this and that. And it's just like, all right, like, that's cool and all, but last time I checked, Chicago's like a pretty gun-free zone, but it still has problems. Like, how is this? You know what I mean? Like, you could take the guns away from all Americans if you want, but all you really do is just create a demand. And we all know what happens when you create a demand. People and other things will find and organize themselves to meet that demand. So it's like, you know what I mean? Either way, hold on. I actually wanted to get to...
I don't want niggas to look at me like I got love for KRS, Mos Def, all the conscious rappers, but I don't want niggas looking at me like that, man. You know what I'm saying?
I don't want niggas looking at me like that. And he brings up, like, they don't buy your albums in the hood. Like, his whole concern is, I don't want to be completely conscious and alienate everyone. Like, he's already looking at it from how do I get this message as far as possible to the people that matter. And that to me was like, damn. Like, there's a lot more, like, one of the biggest reasons why I'm a really big fan of him is because there's an interview of him talking about sickle cell. And I have a personal injury that if I put myself in certain circumstances, it's a lot of pain that I deal with. And his explanation of that was like, damn. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you connect with people because of certain things that you can't avoid, right? Like, he couldn't avoid the pain that is caused but from his sickle cell. And, right, I can't change the pain that I feel when it's, I don't know, I think I've largely healed myself now, but still, like, there were times where I couldn't even move. Like, I had to walk around with the cane, right? I'm like, I'm not even over 30, and I had to walk with the cane, right? I was 25, and I had to walk around with the cane. And it changes your perspective of mine. Either way, another part that I wanted to get
because niggas
is right here.
Millions of fans with Mobb Deep and Prodigy. You know what I'm saying? So, come on, man. I'm using that power. Pac was a powerful nigga too. Pac knew about all that shit. Why you think they murdered that nigga? It wasn't no rap war. It wasn't because he jumped that nigga Orlando. No. That's a motherfucking lie. The government killed Pac. The feds had something to do with it. They set that nigga up. And they had something to do with Biggie getting killed too. And then they tried to make it look like a rap war.
And why did they try to make it look like a rap war? Why did they keep using Biggie and Tupac's name all the way up until 2005? They kept making those anniversary albums. They kept creating this facade of it's not really a facade, but like they added to it. They added fire. They added fuel to that flame and immortalized. That's the word I'm looking for. Immortalized Tupac and Biggie's name. Sorry, I had a problem with my sweater. They immortalize them. It's the equivalent of dipping somebody in gold, right? You made them an idol. Like there's a famous lyric in Immortal Techniques, like like I think he says like motherfuckers who speculate on what the fuck Pac would say. Like I still remember a time like that when I still remember seeing people talk about like, oh, what do you think Pac would say? What do you think Biggie would say? Like these two figures completely shaped an entire generation moving forward, right? I, you know what I mean? Like I still remember like worshiping names as a kid, right? I wasn't very conscious, but as a kid, I remember worshiping names like Michael Jackson, um, Donna, Prince, Tupac, Biggie, of course. But I can't remember. There were like other names that lived in my head. And I was like probably 7 or 8 years old, but I didn't know how these names made it into my head. And nobody ever thinks about that. Nobody ever really quantifies the fact that like kids have to learn these things one way or another. So why as an 8-year-old or as a 7-year-old do I have Tupac and Biggie's name in my head? And it's because of marketing, branding, billboards. Like it was everywhere. Like it was something that was promoted everywhere.
Yo, if Pac was still alive, we would be on the same team. Why you think I said that in my rhyme on the Return of the Mac? If Pac was still alive, we'd be on the same team. We got bigger fish to fry than that nigga Supreme. And the bigger fish I'm talking about is this motherfucking government, this corrupt ass system, and these motherfucking cops. Like fuck beefing with Supreme, like nigga, like and whoever, and the niggas that set Pac up, I ain't even gonna say no names. They know who they are. The niggas that set Pac up in Quad Studio and had him shot. Yo, basically what I'm trying to say is fuck beefing with all these street niggas. And yo, we need to get together and fucking go at the government, son, the military, all these motherfuckers that's corrupting our minds, our brains, the Food and Drug Administration, Hollywood, you name it, healthcare, everything is.
You know, I wish I could say that like Prodigy was somebody that influenced me into my thought processes, into the things that I know, into the things that I do, but not really. For me, it was more like Psycho Realm, Immortal Technique, Malcolm X, my high school teachers. Like I still remember Mr. Aguado, which is kind of funny if you know what Aguado means. But he was like some Asian cat who, like, I would have never known about the money laundering that goes on in Washington D.C. without him. But he was actually largely influenced by Prodigy. Like he grew up in the early 90s. So he got to see a lot of that culture. He got to experience it firsthand. And he wasn't a hip hop head. Like this Asian cat was a punk head. But what was very interesting to me, him being a punk head and him being into that scene, was the fact that he had stab wounds. He had gunshot wounds. And I'm like, right? Because if you were to look at Mr. Aguado now, he's like nice, prim. Like I saw him not that long ago, like a few years ago. He still had the same look, right? Slick hair, looked all nice, prim and proper, talked really eloquently, talked really smart. But his problem was he had ADHD. So I really identified with him, right? Because you know what I mean? Like you're having a conversation and then all of a sudden something else catches your attention and you're fucking off in a different direction. Totally. But to see him talk about how he was Asian and he was in the punk scene and how he mingled with the early rap scene from his local area, which inevitably got him into trouble, getting stabbed, getting shot, I'm not glorifying this, but just to hear that, and I'm like, whoa, like you lived a completely different life to what I expected you to live. And you know what I mean? Like people have expectations of other people, right? People will judge other people based on the way they look. And to hear those stories really like, and he was super into making sure that we knew what was really going on. It was always a learning lesson to have him talk to us about Israel, to have him talk to us about Palestine, to have us talk about the Middle East and how our views of Muslims were largely shaped by corporate America. Like, he was somebody, and right, his class was the film class, and he was very influential to me as a person because he unraveled all that rhetoric of the Middle East, right? Like, I could have known all the stuff about 9/11, how it was a conspiracy, but I would have never known to unravel the real story of what's going on in the Middle East, which is essentially a holy war between Jews and Arabs. And you know what I mean? Like, it's all a part of a Zionist plot, this and that. Like, he was somebody who really set up the foundation for me to know the facts, right? Because when I know the facts, right, I knew the facts going into college. So when I met a Jewish person and when I met that Israeli question, let's just say that was my first time encountering pure, just blind rage, just because I said words that somebody didn't agree with. And this was way before leftism, right? This was way before SJWs. This was like 2010, 2011 when I first went to my first year of college.
It's connected, it's all crooked. They got this whole world fucked up. They got our minds fucked up. And that's what I meant when I said me and Pac would be on the same team. Because E-Money Bags and Majesty was Pac's homies. Stretch, Majesty.
Okay, I'm not too sure who these names are, so I'm very sorry.
Me and Bags started getting mad cooler. When me and Bags started really getting cool and started really getting tight with each other, these niggas started telling me mad shit about. Tell me, yo, Pop was still alive. Y'all niggas Madge. Bags and Madge was like, yo, I would have squashed that beef with y'all niggas and y'all niggas would have been down with each other, yo. Because both of y'all niggas had the same mind state. We both on some motherfucking fuck that, you know what I'm saying, political shit. Like, we not having it. You know what I'm saying? We on some rebel shit.
And it was a little bit, I wanted to pause right where he was like, they're polluting our minds, they're controlling what we think, And the reason why I wanted to bring that up was because, okay, I'm about to show a video of Waka Flocka talking about Trump. But I wanted to bring up a very important fact, is the fact that what incentive, what purpose, like what incentive does Trump have helping Waka Flocka? What incentive does Trump have helping any of these people out? How does it look on the stream? Yeah, it looks good.
Get your credit right. Clean your credit up. From me to y'all, clean your credit up.
That mean everything.
Baby, everything. Stop putting everything in your name. Create a business, an LLC. Put everything in your LLC. And open up a C Corp. And if you don't know these, you need to figure these out. I'm telling you the names. Get a C Corp to run an LLC. If you want to make it even deeper, go get a trust fund and run a corp that runs the LLC. You want to get even deeper, own 2 trust funds for your business and your person to run that trust that runs all the business. It can get deep, my guy. Like,
absolutely.
And Donald Trump actually showed me that method. That's how he didn't pay taxes. A kind of that method, but yeah.
Why? Right? Like, no offense. I might be misconstruing this, right? Trump probably could have had a class. Trump this or Trump that, right? I could find an explanation of why Trump had a reason to help Waka Flocka Flame do all this. But I don't know. Like, I've seen the past that Donald Trump's had, and some people want to even deny that. What's that famous picture? There's like a picture of Trump kind of saying "What's up" to Tupac, and that picture is very highly contested. One side says it was him, another side is like, nah, it wasn't him. But I've seen enough of both of those pictures to know that I don't know what person is in the picture, but it doesn't really matter because his decision making has already proven itself, right? Like, in my head, it makes no sense. If Donald Trump was really a racist and he really hated people, he wouldn't teach him this. This way? No, that way. He wouldn't teach him this. And the reason why I say that is because look at what history has told us. Look at how every other motherfucker who's an oligarch, a billionaire, a millionaire, look at how they operate. Do they ever help anybody else come up? No, they don't. They don't ever help anybody else. They don't ever look out for anybody else that's not a part of their secret society, that's not a part of their secret circle, that's not a part of their what do you call this? Sorority house, fraternity house, right? If you're not a part of these weird mechanisms that filter out good people and shitty people, they're always looking for shitty people, right? So this is I was gonna make a whole video about this, but you know how we talk about reptilians, lizard DNA, and all this other shit? People get lost in that word lizard people, but in reality, what it really was a psychologist did brain studies, figured out that there are people that mimic their thinking patterns the same way a reptile has thinking patterns. And that's where the idea of the reptilian brain came from, is the fact that there are people amongst us that are operating outside of a reptilian brain thinking pattern and not one of compassion because of the frontal lobe cortexes and all these other things that associate themselves with compassion. So it's kind of like, I don't forget. I'm not the kind of person that forgets that, because I've met enough people that I know what they're motivated by. I've read enough history to know what the MO, what the agenda is like. And for sure as fuck, they do not want rappers knowing any better. They do not want anybody knowing any better. They don't want you to know what an LLC is. They don't want you to know what a corporation is. They don't want you to know how to organize all this to create 2 trust funds. They don't want you to know any of it, because it sets you up for generational wealth. It sets you up. It gives you a better life, because now you're using the fullest extent of this government in your favor, right? Because now you're learning legalese language. Now you're learning how to file things. Now you're learning how to notarize things. It's why the education system is the way it is. It's why university is the way it is. They do not want you accessing or learning the capabilities of what it means to live as an American and what guarantees you're given. Because good luck trying to figure this out in any other country that doesn't have these sorts of systems implemented. It's why they keep us stupid. It's why there's whatever. I'm going to go back to the snitch culture. Hold on.
Pac was raised by the Black Panthers. Man, I got so much shit to say, man. So much shit on my mind. I'm gonna just let it out. Like, for example, why are they making all these movies right now about snitches? American Gangster, Frank Lucas. He's a fucking snitch. What's the other nigga? Nicky Barnes. He's a fucking snitch. Why are they making movies about snitches? Why there's no movie about Wayne Perry in DC? Why there's no movie about Tulu Shakur and all these motherfucking niggas that's locked up doing life? You know what I'm saying? Because they on some real rebel political shit. Why ain't no movies about these niggas? You know what I'm saying?
That's a real good question to ask. Why are there movies that promote a certain kind of culture? Why is there music that only promotes a certain side of the culture? Why are there these things that get much more eyes? It gets pushed much further. And in reality, it's because it also feeds the prison industrial complex system. Right there, what was the, I can't remember his name, but I think he was from Bone Thugs and Harmony, or there's somebody who came out and gave a full-length interview talking about how he was invited to a meeting with a bunch of other people that were very influential of the time, and they were given an offer. We're going to shape music in this fashion so that it aids and abets these other aspects of business corporations. Right, like the whole thing of pharmaceutical drugs becoming a thing, comethazine, cough medicine, is it comethazine? I don't even know, but cough medicine, Xanax bars, like all of these things are promoted by rap culture. All of these things enter the lexicon and the ideas of young people thanks to rap music. I'm not blaming rap music. Fuck no. I'm blaming the industry that finds these other idiots that then promote it, right? It's a level of obfuscation, a level of not having to deal with the karma that, I don't know, that's a whole other discussion of like magic, karma cycles, and all this other shit. But I don't know. Snitching culture. Look at where we're at now, right? Like, how many new younger rappers that came up right now are snitches? Like, how okay is it now for snitching? Like, you have somebody like Tekashi 6ix9ine still walking around after supposedly he did what he did. I don't know much about that situation. I actually have 2 cents on it.
The only movies that you see made is like about snitch ass niggas, man. They promoting snitching. Hey yo, my man Eddie from Branson, you know what I'm saying, the buzz spot uptown. That nigga gave me a book back in the days that was called Snitch Culture, and how America and the powers that be are promoting snitching. They want niggas to snitch on each other. They want people in the streets to call certain, if you see somebody that looks suspicious, look like a terrorist, call this number, blah, 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 blah. They want you to snitch. They raising snitches right now in the millennium. They raising a bunch of snitches. And that's not how it go. You know what I'm saying? Like, fuck snitching. We got other things to worry about. Let's snitch. Alright, you want to snitch? Let's snitch. Like right now, I'm snitching on the government. I'm snitching on the Illuminati. I'm snitching on the military. I'm snitching on the fucking religion. I'm snitching on some real shit. I ain't snitching on my brothers in the street. You know what I'm saying? You don't snitch on your brothers in the street. You snitch on niggas like the government. You let the world know, yo, these niggas is corrupt. These niggas doing foul shit. And you show the facts. And you show why and how it's all going down. And that's a real snitch. Because you snitching to your brothers about the government. You're not snitching to the government about your brothers. You understand what I'm saying?
And that's actually the most important. That's what kind of sparked me to make this video, rewatching this part, was because it's the same thing as Paul Revere, right? Like him running around, the British are coming, the British are coming. In this sense, it should be that, yo, the government's doing something. You should educate yourself. We should, and it's not, you know, a lot of this whole thing of educating yourself, it's not for you. It's for the next generation. Because who's going to teach them? Who's going to put them on game when they have to figure all this out when they're 15? Who's going to put them on game over, I don't know. Because the way I see it is like, this whole thing of the lie, perpetuating the lie, it only works if you get the young. Right? Because once you're outside of that marketing cycle by the age of 25, the system tosses you out. The system just kicks you out, and it's just like, all right, we abused you, we took all the energy we got from you, get out. Like, you're no longer young. Leaving a whole bunch of Americans from the age of 25 to 30 to figure everything out on their own. And that's you know, that's the nice situation. In reality, if you actually went to college and finished that whole thing, you literally just finished the earliest cycle of your life. And now you're at $150,000 worth of debt. And, you know, congratulations to the people that can pay for that. But there is something to be said how the government is setting up people to put them in debt. And this all happened when government loans were subsidized for the citizens, right? Like everybody in high school logs into FAFSA.gov, fills out the application to see that if the government's going to give them a loan to see if they can go to college. Does nobody see the problem in that? Creating all that debt? For people who, like me personally, I should have not been let into college that early on. At the age of 18, I was not ready for what the fuck that was. But that's me personally, right? I didn't have any guidance. But looking at the situation, how it's ended up with rappers and how it's ended up with snitching culture the way it is now, just, I don't know. To me, I look at situations and I'm just like, and it's not even just that. It's the fact that when people make it into the industry, like the industry will force these people into scenarios to breaking off their groups all the time. Shoreline Mafia, 99 Neighbors, Brockhampton. Like there are a variety of instances where you'll see that the music industry will try to change their message. They'll try to change who they are. They'll try to change their image. And if they can't do that, they'll just break up the group. And it always reminds me of that trope. And it's the reason why rock bands don't exist nowadays. I don't know if people don't know that, but the reason why rock and roll bands or rock bands in general don't make it is because the music industry doesn't want to pay everyone. They only want to make one superstar, which is usually the lead singer, and they don't want to pay the band members what they're worth. Instead, they'll just be like, oh, what's that drummer? You don't want to be here? Oh, well, we'll just find a replacement for you. Completely throwing off the dynamic of the band, their original feel. Because, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It gets me angry, but it also highlights the fact that they want to promote snitching culture. Because for the longest time, look who was inviting people to their private island. And what were they doing on that private island? So what was up with all those tapes that they found in New York? Are we just going to ignore the fact that, in a weird way, that is a form of snitching, right? Because those kind of blackmail operations only work out if somebody else sets somebody else up in order to bring them into that location. Like, nobody wants to quantify what these actions are and what they do.
Peep that. That's some game for your ass, nigga. You know what I'm saying? Like, straight like that, man. Come on, man. I would never tell on no nigga on the street and get a nigga locked up. Never. Ever. I don't give a fuck. Shit. Like, pee on some new shit, nigga. I'm starting a trend. Anybody that you see that's on the shit that pees on, you got it from pee. And that's a good thing. It's not bad that you biting off pee and that you on some no jury, no rims. That's good. I want you to get on that.
And you know, it's funny how he says, I don't care if you bite on my style. Like, nowadays, everybody's so obsessed with being original that they don't even know what being original means. Like, for the longest time, I believed that I was just an average ass follower, only to later just kind of pay attention to my surroundings and be like, yo, nobody listens to the music I listen to. Nobody dresses the way I do. Nobody talks the way I do. And I live in LA. It's fucking weird for me to walk up to somebody, have a conversation with them, and then be like, you from here? Because you don't act like you're from here. And to me, it's like, what the fuck, dude? Like, because it's not that I'm biting on P style. In reality, I've learned from the same people he learned from. I was influenced by people who were also influenced by the same people. But it's important to acknowledge that, like, yo, I'm not the only one. There are a fuck ton of us. There have been plenty of people who will come before and after me who will want to do the same thing and speak the truth and talk about how these things affected our history, how these things largely affected the way that we are now. But either way, keep playing the video.
I just also want you to know where you got it from. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people steal my ideas and like to run with it like it's their own. So I just want to be clear on that real quick. Just know where you got it from and acknowledge where you got it from. If you want to get on the same shit that I'm on now, I want you to get on the radio and wherever you promoting it at, and I want you to say, yeah, my nigga P got me on this shit. You know what I'm saying? I heard him say it first. Because I ain't got no problem with saying, yeah, Dr. York, Malcolm X, and the rest of our black leaders got me on it. Got me the way I am now. And I got it from them. So you should do the same thing. If you want to follow what P's doing, just acknowledge where you got it from. That's all I'm trying to say right now. I had to throw that in there real quick.
I probably should have thrown that in there at the beginning of this video. Me personally, well, let me see what else.
Anyway, they raising a bunch of fucking snitches. They making movies about snitches. Alpo movie. Alpo's a snitch. So I have no fear in losing anything. You know what I'm saying? I got sickle cell, and people with sickle cell have a short lifespan. So I have no fear in losing my life. You understand what I'm saying? So you want to assassinate me? You want to assassinate my character? You want to do whatever you want to do? Nigga, do it, nigga. I dare you, nigga. You know what I'm saying? My army is strong in the street. And nigga, I ain't Dr. York, nigga. I got niggas that will go buck stupid. You try to lock me up for 135 years. Watch what the fuck happen. You try to do that to a nigga like P, nigga. Watch what happen, man. Shout out to Tuli Shakur. Pardon me if I ain't saying your name right, but you know what the fuck I'm talking about. Shout out to all y'all niggas locked up. Shout out to Wayne Perry. They need to make a movie about you, nigga. And they need to make a movie about niggas just like you, man. And stop making a movie about these fucking snitches. And you need niggas like me to do the soundtrack. And I'll get deeper into the subject as we go on. But man, everybody agree with me in the hood. You know what I'm saying? So I know what I'm saying is right. And I got facts.
You know, and talking about Dr. York nowadays is not easy. Oops, I was hitting the wrong button. Talking about Dr. York in today's age, not easy. Because if you look up Dr. York and what he got put away for, it will distort the mind. It'll make you think, well, How can he, right? Because that's why he says, I don't have a problem about talking about Dr. York and Malcolm X. Because if you mention Dr. York, people are going to be like, oh, the human trafficker? And it's like, it gets very complicated. And right, because you have to know people like Monica Lewinsky. Monica Lewinsky was a very famous debater who developed these tactics that are the most popular thing in known history, because she basically developed the techniques to gaslight in a very political sense. So one of them is blame your enemy for that which you are guilty of, right? Dr. York was talking about Skull and Bones, talking about secret societies, talking about the witch magic circles that exist within the upper echelon of these societies, and how they have these very specific rituals that, right, like, if very difficult subject matter to talk to, right? Talking about anything that relates to Dr. York, because Dr. York got to the truth of it all. He got to the very bottom of what American history was, and he created this whole movement back in New York where people were educating each other about the real history of this world. And he's somebody who's really made a dent in culture, at least in New York, right? Because it created people like Prodigy. It created people like 50 Cent. It created very interesting individuals who then took this knowledge and propelled themselves forward to some degree. And I feel like I did not do a fucking good job explaining the fact that, like, I don't know. That should probably be another video. Because it's like white America versus the thing it created, right? And by white America, I specifically mean the DOD. Are they even middle class? I don't even know if you can consider these people middle class. But when I talk about the white America versus the rest of America, that white America that I'm talking about are literally the people that live in Maryland, Washington, D.C., the upper echelon of, like, lobbyist groups, petitioners, people who have the money, the capital, the resources, and the amplification mechanisms that allow their decisions to overwrite all of our decisions, all of our needs, all of our wants. And the reason why, it's the same thing with P. Me personally, I feel like I need to bridge the gap between these two things, because there's a giant fucking disconnect between the hood and these other white people that consider themselves educated. And the reason why that matters is because that's the fucking game we're playing. Fox News, MSNBC, and all these other fucking, this bullshit is literally being played. This is why I call it the Masonic square, right? Or Masonic chess, because it's black and white. And by black and white, it's that whole thing of, like, oh, things could only be this way, or things could only be this way. Like, there's no in between. And it's just like, that's not how the real world works. But it's this false game of definitives that we play. It's a false game of binary where it's either this decision or the other decision. That's a false paradigm, right? Because you're still standing on that checkerboard piece. You're still standing in that game that they created. You're still standing on the narrative that they created, on the lie and the foundation that they have. Which is why I took it far back. I took it so far back that I know that America is a false land. Because I know the history of the Spanish, I know the history of Texas, and I know the history of certain geolocations that have Spanish names. And they're far older than America in some cases, so it's kind of like, how was America America, and how was this an American colony when this has a Spanish name? When there's evidence that the Spanish were here far earlier than everybody else. There's a whole bunch of other things that you can point to dismantle this argument, to dismantle the paradigm of these people. And I guess what I'm kind of angry at myself right now is the fact that I did not describe the fact that white America created gangsta rap as it is. It was literally corporate white America that created the music industry to be what it is now. It was white America that led them to destroy their own sons and daughters, right? Because if you look by percentages on who's transitioning the most, on who's destroying themselves the most, in reality, it's white people. Because you're doing it to such degrees that it pales in comparison to the generational trauma that you've created amongst other minorities. You've created such a generational trauma that the moment you're born with white skin, you're stuck in Stockholm syndrome. The entirety of propaganda is molded to cater to that false experience of the snow globe. And these, I don't know, I could get angry, but at the same time, it just makes me incredibly sad to think that, right, I put myself in that circumstance. What do I want? Do I want to live in that snow globe paradigm? Or do I want to live in the reality of what I know? And I can think far back as a kid. I've always lived in that reality. I remember telling myself when I was very young, how do I become stupid to fit along with everybody else? That was always a constant idea that I had with myself because just because I was largely rejected, right? When I was a kid, when I was a little, whatever, just being rejected, having Asian eyes, them calling me Asian, not being considered Mexican, all this other stupid shit that developed after that. It always left me in an outsider perspective to look at the inside and be like, you know what? Playing that game's actually kind of stupid. Catering to other people was kind of like, I don't know. Just led me to look at life very differently. But I guess I should end this video right here. It's 51 minutes in. Wow. 51 minutes. And I still did feel like I didn't actually properly explain this. And I guess the lyric that comes to my mind right now that is relevant is like Immortal Technique in his description of the Middle East. It's like, you went into the Middle East, you created this demon, like, and if you look into the history of it, it's literally European interest who have been in control of America's decisions. Ever since World War I, it's been like that. So to see the war in the Middle East only get pushed further, only for America to come in and create this subculture of hatred between Muslims and the Western world, it just adds more fuel to the fire. And all I see are just like two corporate suits just shoveling coal, putting in the fire, shoveling coal, putting in the fire. And all the little coal pieces are like psyops, distortion of perception, the promotion of certain cultures. And it's just like, wow. Just to, like, it always reminds me of, if you never viewed anybody else that wasn't of your race, and your entire view was shaped by what you saw on the television, what you saw on Instagram, what you saw on, right? If you live that catered experience and you meet somebody that's not of your race for the first time, your entire perception of these group of people is largely going to be based on what you saw. Television, music videos, movies. So it's why I always bring up that analogy of every time I ever met a white person, oh, what's up, ese? And I'd look at them and be like, you do realize Mexican gang culture is dead, right? Like, Mexican gang culture doesn't exist the way it did in LA. So when I look at them, I'm just like, where did you build this view of me? Like, where did you build this view of all Mexicans? Because in reality, like, the majority of Mexicans who live here in America are like hardworking people, and you actually never get to see them because they're doing all the jobs that everybody else doesn't want to do. Because the culture shifted. The importance of labor jobs no longer exists. Now everybody wants to do these high-end jobs that are very lucrative, luxurious, this and that. I don't know. I feel like I should probably make a better video describing this. Because I just wanted to describe America's disconnect with gangsters. America's disconnect with the hood. They created this thing themselves. And yet, for whatever reason, its own citizenry doesn't know how to act with them. They don't even know how to interact. Right? It's like, how dumb is this? That, like, fuck. That black culture is literally the biggest thing ever. Like literally the biggest thing ever. You have Asian markets completely selling clothing that's completely branded towards this culture. Yet for whatever fucking reason, I don't know. There's a disconnect of like, well, America would never do so. Like, you created this. You created this entire fucking culture and now you want to reject them? Like, I don't know why I'm getting mad this way. I don't know why I'm getting mad this way. I think I'll just leave it there.